exploring the philosophy of Disco Elysium, a deep dive into modern narratives. Disco Elysium is a video game developed by Zoom that has received widespread acclaim and numerous awards. It's a title that boldly redefines the possibilities of storytelling and character development within the medium of video games. While it's technically a video game, some might find the label a bit misleading. It's more akin to an interactive narrative experience, a story you can actively engage with and shape. However, this brings up a natural question. Why would a channel focused on philosophy and theory delve into a video game? The answer lies in the game's profound exploration of philosophical themes. Works like Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Camus' The Plague, and Kafka's The Metamorphosis have long grappled with existential questions. But Disco Elysium manages to present these ideas in a way that feels fresh, immersive, and deeply personal. For me, this is a significant achievement. Before we proceed, I want to emphasize that this discussion will remain as spoiler-free as possible. While there may be subtle hints about the story's progression, the core narrative, major plot points, and its conclusions will remain untouched. You can trust that your experience playing the game will stay intact if you choose to dive in after watching this video. Trust me, you should. This video is designed for everyone. Whether you've already played Disco Elysium and want to deepen your understanding, or you're new to the game and curious about the philosophical ideas it explores. Ultimately, I hope this content encourages viewers to appreciate video games as a legitimate art form, much like film has become a recognized medium for philosophical inquiry. I believe video games deserve the same level of critical analysis and depth. With that said, let's explore the philosophy embedded in Disco Elysium. The story begins in a hyper-real, chaotic world called Elysium, specifically in a working-class city named Revachol. The game unfolds in the Martinez district, a blue-collar neighborhood where the local shipping union holds significant power. You play as a larger-than-life, drug-addicted detective tasked with solving the murder of a hangman behind a bar, alongside your partner, Kim Katsuragi. From the outset, the game immerses you in Elysium's bizarre, hyper-real details, which mirror our own world in unsettling ways. The journey is nothing short of extraordinary. From the moment I finished the first day of the investigation in Disco Elysium, during the scene on the balcony where you share a cigarette with your partner, Kim, I realized this was one of the most unique games I'd ever experienced. Slowly, like luminous clouds, they pass on his lenses, the lieutenant says, staring at his slim cigarette as he contemplates his next drag. They really don't like us here. Some of that kid. You know, it's different in Man and Jamrock in the Grind. It's our fault for leaving this place to the dogs, to the union, to the company. We don't dare come here often enough. This place has fallen between the cracks of our two presidents. We run this city. West of the river is RCM land. It's incredibly hard being human, but we are in control, and it's worth it. The organization works. Our systems work. In order to prevent the city from falling into disarray, certain actions need to be taken. However, significant changes are not expected to occur in our lifetimes. The game initially immerses you in a perplexing dream experienced by the character Harry Dubois, who is grappling with alcohol-induced amnesia. This amnesia erases most of his memories, leaving only his basic motor skills and instincts intact. Upon waking up, Harry finds himself in a chaotic hotel room with no recollection of his identity, facing a broken window and a destroyed tape machine. While many have linked the game to existentialism due to its emphasis on individual experience and choice, a deeper analysis reveals a stronger presence of psychoanalytic themes. Despite the surface resemblance of RPGs to existentialist ideas, the control players exert over characters and narratives suggests a more nuanced view of free will. Recent research in neuroscience challenges the notion of free will, suggesting that our decisions may be predetermined by neural processes. Therefore, Disco Elysium may be more accurately interpreted through a psychoanalytic lens rather than existentialism. The game's exploration of psychoanalytic concepts resonates with our societal upbringing in Western liberalism, prompting us to question the nature of free will and individual agency in a complex world. The concept of life, as proposed during the Enlightenment and within Enlightenment liberalism, presents the individual as a self-governing entity navigating an unfamiliar world. This individual bears the weighty burden of making choices, a concept that holds true in many aspects of life. However, what this game truly excels at, whether intentionally or not, is its portrayal of the subconscious mind, offering a journey through a Freudian and Lacanian perspective of the self. The game leads you to believe that you begin with a clean slate, a tabula rasa, free to shape Harry Du Bois as he wakes up with his memory erased. But this isn't entirely accurate. His underlying impulses remain intact. You, as the player, are still present behind the scenes. He is only as free as he is connected to these elements, to the other. This concept of the other is central to Lacanian theory, which explores how we relate to the world, ourselves, and others through signifiers and existing social and linguistic structures. These structures are the real drivers, not your conscious self. Harry is haunted by past traumas he doesn't fully comprehend, and in his newfound, alcohol-induced amnesia, his understanding is even more fragmented. Yet, he's aware of these lingering ghosts, represented throughout the game by voices that embody different facets of his psyche. Mechanically, within the game, you can enhance personality traits, which in turn alter the game's path and overall narrative. You have the ability to make Harry more empathetic or increase his intelligence by leveling up his logic, for example. With these predetermined traits and his past, Harry is confronted with trauma right at the game's outset. He can't recall his own face, and despite warnings from his psyche, specifically the part referred to as the Inland Empire, not to look in the mirror, you can choose to clear the fog and see his reflection. As you slowly reach your hand towards the mirror's surface, a warning appears. Clearly, you have not thought this through. You won't like what you see there, and you will never unbecome it. Upon seeing his face for the first time, Harry is rightly horrified. The visible signs of alcoholism and drug abuse are disturbing, but they're not the true source of horror. Much like during a psychedelic experience, it's not the physical appearance itself that's most haunting, but rather its meaning or representation. Harry is left with a permanent grin, a smile that reminds him of an all-consuming emptiness. This lack isn't unique to Harry. It's a foundational concept in psychoanalysis and is present within everything related to him. It's an emptiness he attempts to mask with this grin. If there's a universal truth in psychoanalysis, it's that everything revolves around a void, a lack. This theme echoes the ideas of thinkers like Lacan, who posited that desire, a fundamental aspect of human experience, is the desire for something unnameable. At the same time, this desire is the source of all forms of animation. If being were simply what it is, there would be no need to discuss it. Existence arises precisely because of this lack. The positive aspects of Harry's life, like the grin he presents to the world, are merely a facade to conceal this inherent emptiness. Now, let's consider how this relates to our own lives in the real world and the actions we take. Our engagement with love often serves to obscure a fundamental void within ourselves. This is why Lacan provocatively states that loving someone involves a form of mutilation. It's an act of symbolic violence that reshapes both lover and beloved. While this may initially sound contradictory, it stems from the idea that love originates not from tangible reality, but from projections of fantasy. The qualities we attribute to a loved one aren't inherent truths about them, but rather imaginative constructs we layer over their being. Whether through adoration or disdain, we impose meaning onto what is essentially an existential emptiness, a way to navigate what Lacan might call the ontological void beneath human experience. Let's pause here. These concepts can feel overwhelmingly abstract. If you're struggling to grasp them, you're not alone. Psychoanalysis intentionally dwells in this space of uncertainty, where understanding emerges through grappling with paradoxes. In the game Disco Elysium, protagonist Harry Du Bois embodies this dynamic. His apparent death wish mirrors Lacan's notion of the comfort found in nothingness, the relief of confronting the void we typically mask through daily life. A pivotal moment occurs when Harry confronts his own disembodied reflection, a metaphor for the central lack Lacan describes. While many might interpret this void through overt acts like suicide, Lacanian theory suggests our relationship with absence manifests more subtly through unconscious drives, Freud's death drive, societal conformity pressures, or the game's portrayal of ideological rigidity. Crucially, Disco Elysium operates on psychoanalytic determinism rather than free will. As players, we guide Harry's actions, but he remains trapped in a web of pre-existing impulses. His political extremism, amnesiac confusion, and the chorus of inner voices representing fragmented aspects of his psyche. These narrative devices mirror our own existence as subjects. We act on desires we barely comprehend, shaped by forces beyond our awareness. From a Lacanian lens, Harry's journey reflects a struggle with the big other, the invisible network of social norms and symbolic rules. His forced grin and flamboyant persona become masks for the real, the unrepresentable void, much like his fixation on the elusive Dolores Day. The game's tension arises from Harry's dual existence, the life of the party detective hiding profound sadness, and the rule-defying maverick challenging societal expectations. Even in his quirkiest interactions, Harry unconsciously negotiates the very structures he seems to reject, a dance between concealing lack and confronting the limitations of human connection. Let's dive into the world of Disco Elysium, a game that masterfully weaves together complex social codes, philosophical ideas, and psychological insights. The main character, Harry, operates within a specific social code that guides his actions and decisions. This code is just one of many big others that influence his behavior, and it's fascinating to see how it shapes his perceptions and interactions. For instance, Harry's flamboyant and extreme views on political ideology are a perfect example of how the Lacanian concepts of the real, imaginary, and symbolic are at play. The symbolic is evident in the way Harry uses language, with its structured parameters and rules that govern his understanding of the world. The imaginary is reflected in his wild and unapologetic sense of political ideology, which is both captivating and thought-provoking. Meanwhile, the real is present in the expression of his true self, unencumbered by the constraints of societal norms. To better understand these concepts, it's essential to delve into the world of Lacanian psychoanalysis, which can be complex and confusing for those new to the subject. For a more in-depth explanation, I recommend checking out the resources provided, which offer a clear and concise introduction to Lacan's ideas. The world of Elysium, specifically the city of Revachol, is a crucial aspect of the game, serving as a mirror image of our own world. It's an exaggerated representation of the honest underbelly of our history and society, revealing the raw, hidden realities that often lie beneath the surface. One of the striking features of the game is the constant dialogue around political ideology, which can seem unusual or even flawed at first. However, this is a deliberate design choice, meant to highlight the honest incarnation of our world, where political conversations can arise at any moment. The game's portrayal of Elysium as a world that's flawed but still functional is a commentary on our own society, where people struggle to make ends meet, and the system often seems to be on the brink of collapse. In Elysium, nearly everyone is part of the lower to middle class, living in small apartments, with public infrastructure in disarray. The local shipping union and worker protection are rare, and many people are forced to rely on insecure gig work or collecting trash to survive. The game's historical events are also noteworthy, as they mirror our own world's experiences, but with a unique twist. The city of Revachol has a complex history, marked by a long civil war, a cocaine-addicted king, and a communist revolution that ultimately led to the establishment of a commune. The coalition, an international body of capitalist governments, later overthrew the commune, establishing Revachol as a zone of control, governed internationally. As a detective of the RCM, Revachol Citizens Militia, you are one of the few remaining pieces of an old communal institution allowed to exist within the governing body. This setup provides a fascinating backdrop for exploring the intricacies of human nature, social codes, and philosophical ideas, making Disco Elysium a truly thought-provoking and immersive experience. While many open-world RPGs incorporate political themes as a narrative backdrop, they often dilute ideological commentary to avoid polarizing players, a dynamic mirroring the uneasy coalition between free market principles, reminiscent of Reagan/Thatcher neoliberalism, and socially progressive values in modern centrist politics. Games like The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, The Witcher 3, and Fallout New Vegas embed political conflicts, e.g., Skyrim's Stormcloak rebellion against imperial authority or New Vegas faction-driven power struggles. Yet these narratives frequently reduce complex ideologies to oversimplified tropes or vague subtexts. A notable exception is Disco Elysium, which confronts political theory head-on through absurdist humor and existential philosophy. Unlike traditional RPGs that treat ideologies as static factions to align with, the game critiques the very nature of belief systems. It parallels Albert Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus, framing ideological adherence as a paradoxical struggle, like Sisyphus endlessly rolling a boulder uphill. Characters in Disco Elysium grapple with the futility of seeking meaning in a chaotic world. Through this lens, the game explores themes like biological determinism, the idea that human behavior is dictated by innate traits, and systemic inequality, all while mocking its own attempts to dissect politics. The setting of Revachol, a crumbling city marked by poverty and institutional decay, embodies this tension. Characters like Gart, the bartender at the Whirling in Rags, openly criticize the establishment yet begrudgingly admit affection for their flawed environment. Similarly, the Hardy Boys, a working-class union group, balance their awareness of Martinet's material struggles with a fierce loyalty to its residents. One memorable exchange sees them reluctantly aiding an elderly woman abandoned by authorities, muttering, "Classic pigs. Don't worry, we take care of our own here." This interplay between cynicism and compassion highlights the game's core thesis. Ideological systems may be absurd, but human connections persist despite, or because of, this chaos. Even Edouard, the affluent intellectual from prosperous Orange, finds himself entangled in Revachol's dysfunction, underscoring how material conditions shape political realities. By framing politics as both farcical and deeply personal, Disco Elysium challenges players to confront uncomfortable truths rather than retreat into ideological comfort zones. Revachol, despite everything, it is the genuine essence of the earth that she feels a connection to in our world. Have any of you ever visited an affluent suburb in America? It often feels lifeless, devoid of any real substance, a stark emptiness that seems to echo with nothingness. In such places, there is a profound absence of life. It is within this very absurd authenticity that many characters in Disco Elysium exist, particularly in the district of Martinez. The game explores themes of absurdity, especially in art and media, particularly those intended to evoke humor. Disco Elysium excels in this regard. One of the most remarkable aspects of this game is that it is fundamentally a comedy, yet it possesses an extraordinary depth. Videos that analyze Disco Elysium often overlook the immediate humor, focusing instead on the rich cultural subtext that truly animates the experience. When I first engaged with this game, I was taken aback by the sheer amount of humor interspersed throughout. The critique embedded in the game shines brightly, but one of the more misleading interpretations I encounter is the notion that Disco Elysium is merely a continuous critique, a representation of postmodern irony that has been critiqued by thinkers like David Foster Wallace. This perspective suggests that the game is a relentless critique of nearly all political ideologies, which seems like a straightforward conclusion. While it is true that the game serves as a critique, this interpretation feels somewhat superficial. In fact, it also critiques the very act of critique itself in various ways. Throughout the game, there is a persistent dialectical tone. This includes a Marxian dialectic represented by the conflict between the Union and the Wild Pines Shipping Company, as well as a Hegelian master-slave dialectic between Harry and Kim, where Harry begins to see himself reflected in the intelligent otherness of Kim. Moreover, the game critiques the critique itself. I find that dialectics, particularly in the context of cultural theory, can lead to a rather dark irony, a pervasive sense of ongoing critique and cynicism. Some of the foundational ideas of critical theory can evoke this feeling, as seen in texts like Adorno and Horkheimer's Dialectic of Enlightenment, which illustrates a newer, colder ideology of domination. This harshness, emerging from the Enlightenment, was meant to combat myth, but ultimately becomes entangled in myth itself, often manifesting in the guise of fascism. Despite the darker tones that can emerge from critical theory, I do not find this to be entirely present in Disco Elysium. While the game may serve as a broader critique, challenging certain ideological functions, it also invites us to consider what remains amidst the chaotic absurdity of its world. The constant element in this game is the theme of relationships. A significant subtext that can easily be overlooked is that, regardless of the absurdity and hardship of history, relationships endure. This is evident throughout the game, with one of the most prominent examples being Kim Katsuragi, Harry's partner in the crime investigation. Harry is chaotic and unconventional, often driving people to frustration, especially with his drunken and drug-fueled antics. Yet, Kim is there, demonstrating a pragmatic understanding of the unfolding situations without allowing his ego to interfere. Kim embodies a radical acceptance and a hidden love for everything around him, be it Harry, the citizens he genuinely wishes to serve, or the broader community, even in the face of a fascist truck driver. In many ways, Kim represents the authentic humanity that we yearn for in others. Here's why Kim remains one of my favorite characters in any medium. The game's backdrop of politics and ideology isn't just a setting. It actively shapes his story. In the world of Martinez, Kim operates as a moral pragmatist, which translates to a real-world centrist liberal that everyone loves to hate. Yet he shows a fascinating complexity. He rejects fascist ideologies while holding some residual understanding for outdated communist principles. The story invites you to uncover more layers of his character, but what truly stands out is how the game tackles political identity itself. It's not just a critique of modern life's obsession with political labels. It argues that we reduce people to their politics, while ignoring how these labels often clash with real-world actions. For instance, Gary, a crypto-fascist with questionable motives, is still willing to help the player's zoologist expedition. Joyce, the corporate executive forced to Revocall during labor strikes, isn't a one-dimensional villain. Even the Hardy Boys defy initial expectations. The game isn't a relentless postmodern takedown of fragmented meaning. Instead, it leans into absurd modernism, acknowledging that life, even our own, is chaotic and irrational, yet finding hope in human connections. The core theme isn't about politics as ideology, but about how relationships cut through political facades. Kim's sense of responsibility, the union's fight against exploitative capitalism, and the Hardy Boys' grassroots efforts in Martinez reveal that meaningful change comes from shared purpose, not political purity. This is why Disco Elysium resonates so deeply. It's not just a scathing critique of our broken systems, though it is that, but a powerful exploration of love and solidarity as the constants in a chaotic world. The game's sharp writing, vivid atmosphere, and multidimensional characters make it a masterclass in storytelling. If you found this analysis helpful and want more content like this, consider supporting the channel through Patreon or YouTube memberships. These contributions directly fund my work, allowing me to create detailed essays and sustain this level of quality. You'll also get perks like early access, exclusive content, and editing tutorials, plus a chance to shape future topics. Thank you to everyone who helps this project thrive, especially my loyal patrons who go above and beyond. Their support ensures I can keep exploring storytelling and share those insights with you. In order to ensure the continued success and viability of this channel, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Jose, David Guevara, Drog, Stacy Solano, and Kate. Your support has been invaluable, and I genuinely could not have achieved this without your contributions. This brings us to the conclusion of this video. I sincerely hope to see all of you again soon.